Welcome to part 2 of the Essex Brownell Contentsquare series. In part 1, we looked at the Analyze tab and all the tools that it has to offer. If you did not catch that video, a link will be in the description, and we highly recommend you watch that before you move on to part 2. In this video, we're going to look at the Define tab, specifically mappings, and the Performance tab. So first of all, what is a mapping? A mapping simply tells you where your pages are by grouping all like URLs into easily analyzable sections. If you picture a map of the United States, there's a country, there are states, and there are cities. The country represents the website. Every URL that lives within Essex Brownell website is in those borders. Within those, you have states. States represent page groups. As we talked about in part 1 with things like the high-level mapping, you notice the product page group and the search result page group and the home page group. Within each of these are many URLs that fall into that category. For instance, there are over hundreds of product pages that fall under the product page category. Same thing goes for search result pages. In Contentsquare, it's a lot easier to look at state level view versus city level view. What I mean by that is when you're in something like journey analysis, it's a lot easier to look at page groups and seeing what users are doing as they navigate from one page group to another page group, rather than having to navigate from one URL to another URL. But for some cases, knowing what cities you're moving in is much more important. Take Megan, who's an e-merchandising manager, and Gabby, who's a content manager. Megan is interested in what products are selling and what products aren't selling. Gabby, on the other hand, is worried about how the blog pages are performing and what users are doing when they come to the blog page. Megan isn't too concerned about each individual blog page. So for her mapping, it would be more beneficial to just have a group called blog. But what's important for her is seeing each individual product. Gabby, on the other hand, isn't as interested in seeing each individual product and would benefit more from having one product page. What she would benefit from is having a long list of each blog post so she can see how the blog pages are performing individually. What mappings allows you to do is to fulfill the needs of all of these users. So for instance, our high-level mapping likely falls into a category like global mapping. It has a generic mapping that for most users will be most beneficial. But in your specific instance, someone like an e-merchandising manager might want to see each product page individually, where a content manager might want to see each blog page individually, and we can create mappings that allow those users to get the information they're looking for out of Contentsquare. So let's jump into Contentsquare and I'll show you how this works in practicality. Once within Contentsquare, again, you'll likely land on the site overview page, and we'll begin under the Define tab, and this first one here is Mappings. Within Mappings, you'll notice a whole list of various mappings that appear. We'll begin under the high-level mapping. So again, this is a mapping that we recommend beginning on, and as you can see, we have a whole host of different page groups. We have the search result page, which is comprised of over 1,000 different search result pages. We have the product page, which is comprised of nearly 700 product pages. We have the home page, category page, etc. And within each of these, if you click on the search result page, you can then see all of the URLs that fall under that category. You can also set conditions and link objects to those pages. And you'll notice up top we have this colorful meter, and what this represents is our exhaustivity rating. An exhaustivity rating tells you what percentage of URLs that are housed within the Essex Brownell website that are present on this mapping. So in the high-level mapping, we have a very high exhaustivity at 99.1%. The goal of exhaustivity is obviously to reach as high of a percentage as possible. One benefit to having something like a high-level mapping is if you want to track your own products, you can simply come to these 3 dots on this right-hand side, and you can duplicate. Now, you might not be able to edit all of these mappings because you might not be a creator, but you can create your own. So you can hit duplicate, and here then we are launched into a duplication of the high-level mapping. This then means all of the hard work of organizing these pages is done for you. But now let's say we are Megan and we are wanting to look at individual products. Now that we've made a copy of the mapping, we can change this to fit whatever we need. So again, highly recommend always copying a mapping, which will, in most instances, duplicate your exhaustivity. That could change. You might want to use a different mapping that you find that would be closer to what you're looking to create. However, high-level mapping, if you don't know a place to start, is always a great spot. So let's play the role of Megan for a bit and put some new product pages under this product category. So here I am on the Essex Brownell website, and I found the product that I want to monitor directly in Contentsquare. As you can see, we've updated the title, we've updated some of the other elements, and we want to track how these updates are helping our efficiency in selling this product. So back in Contentsquare, I can click on these three dots again under the product page, and I can hit edit. Now you're going to see a list appears that gives you a set of conditions. This is saying, in order for something to be justified as a product page, it matches exactly these conditions and does not contain the word shop. But what I can do is I can come in here and add an and condition. So once again, these two are conditions. You can make them an and or, and I can come in here and say add and condition. Once I do that, I'm going to get three different boxes. You can select a path, a host, a query, or a custom variable. For the sake of simplicity, we'll look at creating a path. What a path is, if you look up here at this URL, you see all of these slashes, and you see everything in between those slashes. These all represent elements of a path. And this, in its entirety, is the path. That is a unique address to get to this specific web page. So we have many options. We can say it matches exactly, and I can paste in this entire URL. We can say it contains and paste in part of a URL. We can say starts with, ends with, or we can even put in rejects. For our case, we'll use contains. I find contains to be the most useful because there may be some paths out there that lead you to the product page that don't contain the entire URL that you pasted. So if I come back to our product page, I can look up here at the URL, and this is my path to get to this specific page. And what I want to look for with products specifically is their SKU. So this product SKU you can find right here is AO-UST1152. So I want to find what in this URL is specific to this product. So in the case of products, this is of course the SKU. In the case of other pages, you might have to find what element in the path uniquely drives you to this page. But what I can do, since this is a product, is I can look for the SKU where it says SKU, and I can find the most specific element. So in this case, it's this UST1152, and I can simply copy it. As I move back into the path page, I can paste this in here, and now any path that contains that specific SKU will appear. Now, you don't want to hit save. You want to hit save as new page group, and we can rename this single phase motor or whatever your product is, and then you hit save. And it's going to pop up with a confirmation and tell you that some pages are included. So this single phase motor URL is already included in this product page, and we want to separate them. So we can say exclude from all and hit save. Now we have our product page, and we also have single phase motor page, which is just the one URL that we pasted. We can repeat this process for any page on the website, including other products, as well as blog post pages. For instance, let's say I'm Gabby and I'm the blog post manager. So under the blog tab, I can open this blog page and I can find what element in here is specific to this blog. And if you're unsure, you can always take a little bit more than you expect to need. So we'll take ID 5. You hit copy, and then once again, come back into Contentsquare, and we will find our CMS page, which represents our blog page. So we can add an and condition again, and we can say path contains, and we can paste in path and hit save as new page. We can say blog 1, hit save. Save this page, and now we have a new page that tracks our specific blog page. So again, any one page on the website, you can make its own page group that you can then track individually. So for product champions, to track your specific product page changes, you can create an individual mapping that tracks each one of your pages individually. Or if it's more helpful, you can paste in numerous URLs. So we can say, here's our single phase motor. And we can say, or path contains, and we can paste in a new path that then will take us to a different page. And instead of naming this single phase pool motor, we can make this updated pages. Now, any of the pages that we update and add to this or statement will then be included in this category. Now, if we navigate to journey analysis, for instance, and we are on the mapping that we created, we can then scroll in and see a new section titled Updated Pages, just as we created in the mapping. So you can now use your created page group in journey analysis and in all of these tools. So under page comparator, just like we have product page and search result page, I can scroll down and find updated pages or blog. Now we can compare all of these statistics for the URLs that were present in the mapping that we created. And we can even do this under zoning analysis. So again, I can come to new zoning analysis and go through our current criteria, single page, page group on the fly. And if you come to page group for mapping, here it is, updated pages. I can then hit apply and again check our URL. And then we are launched into the zoning for the specific pages that we added to our mapping. So here I'm on the product page that we included in our updated pages mapping. As we've demonstrated, every combination of pages or individual pages can be analyzed under Contentsquare. So really, your creativity is the limit. Another way you can further tailor your analysis is again under the Define tab under Goals and Key Events. And here you'll see a list of goals that have already been created. And what a goal is remember in part 1, we talked about e-commerce. We want to analyze what percentage of people are making a purchase. We would set a goal that simply is purchasing. But let's say we are, again, a content manager, or we are in charge of something like quotes, for instance, and we are specifically interested in something other than purchases. We can create a new goal that better fits what our metric for success is. So up here, you'll see new goal. And let's say we want to look at request for quote. And add a description. And then here says, I want to analyze when users, and we have 3 options. We can say view, click, or hover. So view, we can select a specific page. So we want to see what percentage of people are seeing this blog post. We can use the view and then input the page of that specific blog post. Or we want to analyze what percentage of people are clicking on a certain element on a page. So in this case, for request for quote, we'll do that option. You also have the option to do hover. Hover means, just like I'm doing, hovering over these options. You can analyze what percentage of people are hovering over a specific zone. So let's do click, and we'll select a page. So let's say we want to look at request a quote. We'll select that page, and now we'll be prompted to select a zone. Here, we can then select what specific zone. So we have a zone for the city, or we have a zone for first name, last name. What we want is request a quote. And what this is basically telling us is what percentage of users clicked on the zone that says request a quote. That then obviously will tell us what percentage of users requested a quote or wanted to request a quote. And hit create. And now we have a new goal, request for quote. So again, play around in here and build your own success metrics to then track in Contentsquare. So once you build these success metrics and you build your mappings, where do you go to track these elements? Well, again, we have these 4 key tools that you can use to track. But we also have the performance tab. Under the performance tab, we have workspace, alerts, insights, and impact quantification. And we're going to focus on workspace. So as you can see, I've already created a workspace. What a workspace is a dashboard to house all of your findings in an easily readable report. So here I've created a dashboard for top selling products. And we've grouped together specific KPIs to track the top 120 or so products. So under this dropdown, you can see we can track conversion rate and how conversion rate changes over a period of time. We can track bounce rate. We can track session percentage, revenue. We can make graphs that track things over time. And we can even use funnels to track where we're losing users in the journey. So let's create a new workspace. Once here, you can begin to add widgets. And once you hit that add widget button, you'll be prompted to select single value, line chart, image, or funnel. We'll begin with the single value. So let's say we want to track the conversion rate of our updated pages. Then we'll scroll down and it'll prompt you to select site-wide, a page group, or zone. A site-wide meaning this will give you the analysis of the entire site. For page group, which is likely the most useful, you can track the specific page groups that you would find in mappings. And zone allows you to select a specific zone on a page to then analyze. For our case, we'll select page group. If you scroll down and you open metrics, you will see a whole host, again, of all of the metrics that Contentsquare tracks. So we will use conversion rate. And then you're prompted to select what goal to count as a conversion. So again, if you're not interested in e-commerce, you're interested in blog engagement or quote engagement, you could change the goal to something like request a quote. For this sake, we'll use e-commerce. And you can select if more of this metric is better or less is better. Contentsquare often will fill this in for you with what it thinks, but make sure to check that it's actually correct. You can select your device, and then under page group, we then can select what page we want to look at. So in our case, we want to look at the updated pages. And make sure when you're under this tab that you scroll to find the correct mapping you're looking for. With so many mappings, it's easy to get confused and select the wrong metric. But here, under high-level mapping copy, we have the page group that we created in mappings. You can also segment your users from that. For our case, we'll just use all users. And then we'll add the widget. And here you can see it's 0% because we just created this page and we really don't have a lot of depth to the page group. But you can see how conversion rate then appears in this little widget. If you wish to edit further, you can use this edit toggle at the top, where then you can name your page group. So we'll name this updated pages. You can also add more widgets. So we will add a line chart and we will say bounce rate over time. So again, we can choose a group name. If you have multiple groups, you can select where it's going. But in our case, we only have one section, which is updated pages. So we'll select that. Then we can choose to do a line chart. Again, we'll choose page group. And now we're going to look for our bounce rate, which is under the performance tab. So then we select bounce rate, all devices, and once again we can select our page group. We'll do all users, and then we add widget. And now we can track the bounce rate of our updated pages group over time. You can change what the metric is if you're looking by hour or day or week or month. You can also make this on this bottom right here. You can make it bigger or smaller based on what else you want to include in your dashboard. Another useful tool is if we go back into our widget, we once again can use this compare toggle to then compare our metric with another segment. So we'll compare it with just desktop. And now you'll see a comparison metric appear. So this provides you a great way to present the data that you find using the new customized mappings and goals that you create. One useful tool, as previously mentioned, is funnels. So again, we hit edit and we add a widget. We can select a funnel. We hit next steps and then we're prompted to name it. So let's say cart funnel. And then place it in our page group again. So updated pages. And then we are asked to select our funnel steps. So this is essentially tracking journey analysis on a dashboard. So we will select for our first page, let's say we want to track what percentage of people are going from our updated pages and then navigating to the cart page. This will allow us to see what percentage of people who view our updated pages then go to the cart page. And from there, we'll add another step using this add new step button. And we'll say, and then they reach the checkout page. So now we are tracking what percentage of people who land on the updated page, visit the cart, and then visit the checkout page. We'll add this widget. And now you can track what percentage of people are moving from one phase to another. So you can see of the people who visit the updated pages, a very low percentage moving to the cart page. And 0% are actually checking out. And again, we have a relatively small sample size, and so this is nothing to be alarmed about, but you will see these numbers adjust as you create a more robust analysis. Finally, we've talked a lot about different segments of users. Again, under the Define tab, we've covered mappings and goals, and we will move on to segments. And you can see a list of very familiar segments. We have new users, returning users, sessions with transactions, session without transactions, all things that you've seen that you've been able to select. Well, let's say we specifically want to track new US customers. We can come down and then create a new segment to say new users and segment who match US customers. And now we hit create. We've created a new segment that looks at what percentage of customers that are new are also US customers. So let's say specifically we want to target new US customers. Now we have a metric that will allow us to cater our analysis to that group of people. We want to create a segment. Say add and condition. We can again use the or, which will allow us to then group two different segments together into one category. But under select the condition, we then have a whole host of user interactions. We can say all users who viewed a specific page, and then again, we can select our page group, so updated pages. And we can change this all users to something like new users. And then you can add some specific metrics, but for our case, we'll just say they have viewed our updated pages group page. So now these conditions represent a new user visiting updated page. Great. And now we've created a very specific segment using the mapping that we just created. So you can see how specific and granular you can get within Contentsquare. That will conclude part 2 of our Essex Brownell Contentsquare series. In the next video, we're going to move outside of Contentsquare and look at Click and how we can create reports in Click to be effective tools for demonstration. Thank you for watching part 2, and we'll hope you move on to part 3.